They will just always want more. And that's why it's extremely dangerous and exhausting to have friends like that, because they can seem so innocent and soft people, but in reality, they are passive aggressive predators. They know exactly what they're doing. Welcome to the 4th episode of my podcast. I'm your host, Jay. And today I want to do something different. I still don't have a guest because I'm still living like a monk. And I had this spontaneous idea that what if I record a podcast without knowing where the conversation is going to lead? So the idea was that I'm going to take a topic or a question or a problem that my mind has been drawn to over the past few days, and I'll just try to solve it and understand it myself and share the thought process live as I'm doing it. And that's what the podcast is going to be about. So authentically, I don't know where this is going to lead. I just know the first point of contact. And usually I notice something very small in my environment, like someone says something or someone does something or someone's body movement. And I take like the smallest thing and then I start analyzing why. Why did the person do that? Why did the person say that? Or why didn't the person do that? And the small thing that I want to analyze a bit today is a comment from my Instagram reel. And just a quick background so you understand the context of what the comment was about. I'm currently doing a challenge where I run every day for 1 year. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, I just started posting a reel every day on Instagram of me running and sharing a thought or some lesson that running has taught me. And one of the advice that I gave was fix what bothers you. And the example that I brought was me picking up trash while I run, because I started doing it like more than a month ago because it really bothered me. I was running every single day, the same track, and I cleaned it up every day. And the next day the trash was back and I was like, Jesus Christ. But anyways, the comment that I got about that was, I wish that I had the same amount of time as you do. And comments like this really intrigue me because the people behind the comments really intrigue me, because let's take this apart a little bit. First of all, what he said is false. He doesn't have less time than me. I have 24 hours in a day. He has 24 hours in a day. So what he probably meant to say was that he wished that he had as much free time as I have. But that again doesn't make any sense because he has no information about my daily amount of free time compared to his. And lastly, if you look at the comment, it kind of looks innocent at first glance, but I think it's extremely passive aggressive because he's kind of patting me on the back for me doing what I'm doing. But at the same time, there's some resentment towards me, kind of like, ooh, I wish that I had the same opportunities like you do, but I don't. You lucky bastard. And it's almost as if, even how he words it, I wish he words it in a way as if it's out of his control, that he doesn't have the time. And like the world is limiting him from doing all the things that he wants to do. So what we're dealing with here is victim mentality. And those are people who completely distort their perception of the world in a way that they are always less, they are always victimized, and someone else has something that they wish they had, but they can't get. And the way for them to get it is out of their control. It's the if only kind of people. If only this, oh, then I would do that. And the crazy sad part is that no, they wouldn't. Like if this guy had more free time, he wouldn't be doing these things that he thinks that he wants to do. It's kind of like barking dogs behind a fence. The ones that just bark, who aren't dangerous, they just bark for attention. And if you open the gate, then they're confronted with reality and they just shut up. And I think we have the same case here with this comment, or with the person behind the comment, because one thing that he has in common with that barking dog is that if you give him the opportunity to do what he claims that he wants to do, he wouldn't do it. Like the dog is not going to bite you when you open the gate, and he wouldn't improve his life if he had more free time. And I understand that it seems a little bit far-fetched to conclude something like that about a person, a real human being, based on one comment on Instagram. However, I would bet my life that I'm right, because more free time doesn't change your mentality and attitude. It just gives you more free time to express your mentality and attitude. And if you have victim mentality and you get more resources, you're just going to be more of a victim. Much like a lot of people think that money is going to solve all their problems. No, money is just a resource. That's why you have statistically people who win the lottery often end up more broke than they were before, because the fault in their character is their lack of capability to handle money. That's why they didn't have any before. And even if you give it to them, you give them all the resource that they thought they wanted, they still fuck it up. It's like putting the greatest coffee beans on earth through a shitty coffee machine. It doesn't matter the quality and the amount of the beans. If the machine is fucked, you're gonna get low quality coffee. But anyways, let's get back to our main character. And let's name him so it's easier to address him. Let's call him Mr. V. V for victim. And let's turn this baby upside down now. What if I'm wrong? Because there's two options. He either is a person who has victim mentality or he isn't. If he is, I'm right. If he isn't, then I'm wrong. And the first place where my mind goes is, in what scenario would a normal person who doesn't have victim mentality write a comment like that on a video like that? Because it's a video about a guy trying to be healthy, doing good things for him, running every day, and then also decides to fix what bothers him and starts to pick up trash every day when he runs. I mean, what's not positive about that? If you saw a video like that, or maybe you actually did see it when I shared it on Instagram, what was your first reaction? And now imagine, what kind of a person should you be to write a comment like that? Because I remember a few years ago, I saw some surfer guy that started to free dive and then pick up trash from the ocean. And I thought it was great. Like, it's an utterly positive video. I don't see anything wrong with it. And never in my life did I think to make that about me and comment, "Ooh, I wish I had the swimming skills to also clean out the ocean. If only I could swim and surf so well, I would be doing the same thing," right? It doesn't even cross my mind. So in that sense, it is difficult to find a scenario where a person with a healthy mindset would look at something that's good for other people, good for the environment, good for everything, but they still make it about themselves in a way how it kind of hurts them, right? It has nothing to do with them. And to write that out in a comment is, for me, 100% sign that we're dealing with a person with victim mentality, because I said it distorts your perception of the world in a way that you even stop noticing that you're doing it. Here's a great example. My friend got a raise, and when he went home to share the great news with his girlfriend, her girlfriend was like, "Oh, that's great. How much do you earn now?" And then he told her the number, and the girlfriend was like, "How come you earn so much compared to me?" And then she started crying. That's what I mean by it completely distorts your perception of the world. And whatever bit of information you see, you always twist it and make it about you and how the world is unjust to you. And eventually it gets out of control, and it doesn't matter how high quality coffee bean you put into that machine, only shit will come out. And when it does get out of control, one form of that shit can be being on social media and leaving comments to victimize yourself. Because it would be interesting to see the comment history of Mr. V. Oh, that rhymed. And my guess is that if we would get access, let's say, to 1 year of his past Instagram or TikTok or Facebook comments, majority of them would be of the same type. And because also you have to consider other people comment also on the same kind of content. The content is the same, right? But the comments are completely different. Like even with my running reel, there were people, majority, like 95% of them were just, let's call them the boosters. They were just rooting for me and saying things like, "Oh, awesome work, bro. Great advice. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep running," right? Those types of people, extremely positive. The second type of people were the kind that, regardless of what you're doing, they always try to give you advice and just point out things that you're doing wrong or the things that you could be doing better. Let's call them the fixers. For example, there was a guy that commented, "Oh, by the way, you're really damaging your knees and you really should be running on softer surface." And I just replied, "Don't worry, I'm working on my running technique and I also have really good running shoes." And then he just replied again, "Yeah, but then it's going to be not very cost effective to keep buying running shoes all the time." You see, it doesn't matter what I tell him, he's always going to try to fix and give me advice about the last thing that I said. So they're not interested in what I'm doing, they're interested in fixing what I'm doing. And the third kind of people are the ones that make it about themselves. But there are two subcategories here. First are the ones that do it in a positive way, and the second are the ones that do it in a negative way. So the positive way are the ones, let's call them the doers. They actually take the damn advice from the video, or if they get motivated, like fix what bothers you, they actually do it. Like no excuses, they don't overthink, they actually start doing it on the same or the next day, right? And the others who make it about themselves in a negative way are the victims with victim mentality, like Mr. V. And if you think about these types, the boosters, the fixers, the doers, the victims, you see them in your daily life all the time, whether it's in your family or friends or your coworkers. And the thing with these types is that it's almost as if they cannot turn it off. They cannot turn off who they are. So if you take the boosters, for example, they are the kinds of people that just give you support no matter what. Whatever you tell them, they're going to be like, awesome, absolutely amazing, great job, keep doing what you're doing, which can be really important at times. However, those are not very good kinds of people if you want constructive feedback. And that's when the fixers come in, because they balance all the constructive feedback that the boosters don't give. So they will give you constructive feedback, even if you don't want to hear it, even if you weren't thinking about it, because that's who they are and that's how their mind works. They are the kinds of people that if you wake up and tell them, good morning, they will reply, technically it's not morning anymore because it's 12 noon. And then you question your life decisions, why you made 4 babies with this creature. However, that being said, the fixers are amazing if you actually need something fixed, because they are the kinds of people that don't get so easily pulled into the world of emotions. They prioritize facts, evidence, critical thinking, and are very driven to find solutions to problems. But the downside of all that is that they can be and are extremely annoying. And I know because I'm one of these bastards. So next are the doers, and everyone hates the doers, except other doers, because they are the kinds of people that are, hey, let's go to the gym. And you're like, sure. And then they're like today, right now. And you hate them because they take away your space of excuses, because they just want to do everything right now all the time. So let's say if you're a fixer like me, and my friend is a doer, and we need to do something together, then my brain wants to plan the perfect plan and wait for the perfect moment and analyze all the conditions, while the doer comes back in 5 minutes, is like, done. And I'm like, how? And then I criticize that the quality of his result is not good enough. And then he criticizes that, well, at least I'm not sitting here thinking. And then the booster comes in and he's like, hey guys, you're both doing such a great job. You're so awesome. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Amazing. And then it just eases out the whole situation and we're all friends again. And then the door opens and Mr. V walks in. And the first thing he says, guys, why didn't you tell me that you arrived earlier today? Now I feel so bad that I'm late and you've been working here all this time. Come on, why are you doing this to me? Blah, 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 blah. And then the booster, fixer, and the doer look at each other and think like, oh, thank God, at least we're not like him. Which, by the way, is an extremely important and practical principle to understand in life, which is the principle of common enemy. And again, I don't know if it's a thing, it's just something that I've noticed and also something that I've used in my life a lot. And the principle is this: it doesn't matter what your differences are. If you aim at a common enemy, all of your differences will become irrelevant. And I've seen this principle at work on an individual level and also on a massive scale, like world politics. So, example, from the individual level. And this is something that is not a one-off. I've done this a bunch of times. And for 2 reasons. First, it's so fun to observe. And second, it works every single time. And you can try this. So I was at this party and at my friend's place. There was a bunch of people. And there was also couples. And usually when people drink and when couples drink and maybe they are not in the best headspace, their unresolved past fights start to kind of emerge at the party scene. And then one of the couples kind of started to be slightly annoying towards each other, and then that kind of ruined the vibe of the party because we were in a small apartment. And then I was like, oh, perfect conditions. And I took it upon my shoulders to resolve the situation and clear the air. And how could I do it? Simple. I will give the couple a common enemy, me. So I just went at them. I just kind of sat down, started talking to them, and I was being slightly disrespectful or annoying or questioning things about the relationship. And that made them unify, team up, and really go after me and start protecting their relationship from me. And I just pushed until I saw that they were mutually irritated at me in a way that they already forgot about what they were arguing about before. So after I left the scene, they were all, being a nice couple again and all cuddly and probably went home and had great sex. Maybe made a baby. Definitely didn't name it after me though. And the best thing about this example is that everybody won, right? The people at the party won because they got their peace of mind. The couple won because they stopped fighting. And I won because it was just extremely entertaining to watch that play out. Now, here's another example where everybody definitely didn't win and it wasn't extremely entertaining to watch that play out. And I'm talking about the massive scale example now. And the example is World War II, right? If you take the Soviet Union, they were part of starting World War II. They were teamed up with Nazi Germany. And then they split Poland like it was nothing. And somehow they twisted the whole thing during the war. And they switched sides. And they ended up being with the Allies by the end of the war. And obviously, I'm not saying that the Soviets didn't play an important role in the final years of the war. However, they started it. They started it and they fucking flipped the coin. And now if you go to Wikipedia, they are on the winners list, even though they were also the same ones that started it. And that is completely fucked up. And how could they pull it off? Principle of common enemy. Because it wasn't as if the Soviets, if they could have, they would have taken all of Europe. They just couldn't. So there was no shared ideology or mutual respect between the Soviets and the Allies. It's just that Nazi Germany became such a big common enemy that even two enemies had to team up to take out the third enemy. Anyways, I will quickly stop talking about history because my knowledge of history is as good as my sense of direction, and anyone who knows me knows that I could easily get lost in a studio apartment. So let's get back to where we were. And as I was talking about Nazi Germany, I realized that I haven't really thought about or tried to understand why do victim mentality people act the way they do? Like, what's their drive? What's their goal? What's their purpose? And okay, let's compare them to the other types. If we take the boosters care about, I would say, just positive emotion or sharing positive emotion. The fixers care about solutions. And the doers care about action. And the victims, I guess they care about attention. Because if we do a quick cross-examination and we put the victims together with the other types, let's say the booster and the victim, how that social situation would turn out would be that the victim would probably ask a question about the booster just as bait. For example, like the simplest one, how have you been? And then the booster actually gives an answer. Oh, I've actually been pretty good, work's good, maybe tough times in the relationship. Basic answer, right? And then the victim instantly flips that around, makes it about themselves in a negative way. And the goal is to make it look as if they are the victim and also make the booster feel bad about the fact that they're doing better than the victim is. So a typical victim reply would be something like, oh, you're so lucky that you're doing great at work because I just got a pay cut, and also like your relationship is bad, but like mine is horrible. I think we're going to break up. And as soon as the booster takes the bait, they start comforting the victim, saying that everything's gonna be okay. You just gotta stay positive and keep your chin up. However, it doesn't matter at all what the booster does because the victim already won because they already got exactly what they wanted, which was attention. And it will never be enough because victims are like a bottomless hole for attention. They will just always want more. And that's why it's extremely dangerous and exhausting to have friends like that, because you can have the same conversation every week about their same problems and you can give them advice, solutions, support. Doesn't matter. Next time you see them, same story, because they just want your attention. And one thing to keep in mind is that this whole conversation, the structure of the conversation, was planned by the victim from the get-go. As soon as they asked, "How have you been?" from the booster, there was no other way how that could have unfolded, because it's like a domino effect. As soon as you push the first domino, there's only one destination. And the fucked up part is that the booster thinks that they are being a good person doing the right thing, but in reality, they are the victim. It's not even that they're the victim, but they're almost like they voluntarily let this parasite suck all of the energy out of them, right? And that's the thing with victim mentality. They can seem so innocent and soft people, but in reality, they are passive aggressive predators because they know exactly what they're doing. And I don't mean that they sit at home before they meet with you and construct this evil plan to suck all the attention out of you, but it comes naturally to them. It's an instinct that they don't think about, the same way like a lion kills a deer, right? They're not conscious about what they're doing. They just know what to do. But as I said, they're more like a passive-aggressive predator. They're not an aggressive predator like the lion, right? They're more like, I don't know, a chameleon. So they have this capability to make themselves look like a real victim, even though they aren't. And then whoever they encounter, those people, to the untrained eye, you can't tell a difference if this is someone who's a real victim or this is someone that just appears to be a real victim and just wants something from you, using that as a disguise. And I'm sure you have a few of those people in your life because it's always the same story with them. When you meet with them, they ask you a question. When you're answering, you can already see in their eyes that they don't really care about your answer. Then they flip the situation around and you go to your caretaker mode, and then the rest of the hour is just wasted on them. And after every conversation, you feel exhausted and you feel dry, and they just move on to their next target. And you might justify the situation to yourself with something like, "Oh, but they've always been like that. And we've been friends for so long, we go way back." But my question to you is, are you a people pleaser? Because if you are, then you are the perfect target for a passive aggressive predator like that. And it has never been a friendship, but rather an unhealthy parasite host relationship. And here's a simple test to help you identify those people in your life. How many times have you been there for them when they most need you? And how many times have they been there for you when you most need someone, right? It has to be a massive imbalance if you're dealing with someone who's a parasite. And if anything, because your whole relationship dynamic is about them going through struggle all the time and you being there for them, it's almost as if you feel that you need someone, you don't even want to ask for their help because you don't want to burden them with extra stuff. You don't want to be a burden to them. So they have this get out of jail free card of just sucking you dry and then never being there for you. And the fucked up thing is that that's your choice. You make that decision, so you never even reach out to them. And that's how they win every single time with you. So yeah, I'm not even exactly sure how we got here, but it kind of made sense. And as I'm talking, I'm realizing that I'm really into this victim mentality topic. And I'm also understanding why. Because if you thought that being a booster is bad with victims, then there's one worse option, and that's being a fixer, because you want to fix all the problems, and victims have all the problems. And I'm probably into this topic because I'm a fixer, and I've been a fixer my whole life. And if I look back into either my past relationships or even friendships or everything, I've always been fixing people. So, yeah. And the thing is that, I mean, I still do it because the same way like a victim cannot stop being the victim, a fixer cannot stop being a fixer. But you can learn how to control it and direct it. So you need to have not like an off button, but at least a pause button. And regardless whether you're a doer or a victim or a fixer or a booster, it's super important because if you're a booster and you don't control it, you're going to be a people's pleaser. If you are a fixer and you can't control it, you're going to fix something else until you break yourself. If you're a doer, you're just going to wreck yourself physically and mentally, like a racehorse that runs until it dies. And when you're a victim and you can't control it, you're just going to suck the energy out of everyone around you until you're alone. And also, just want to point out that I don't think that you can just be one type. You have all types in you. Like I'm a fixer, doer, booster, and the victim. It's just that usually one is a dominant one. For me, that's the fixer. And the others, the dials are, lower. And also, obviously, there's more than just 4 types. It's just that this is a very spontaneous, on the spot thought process. And I just created this quick 4 type model to help me figure out this situation. And I think it kind of worked because I definitely got some new insight to my own relationship to victim mentality people. And I guess it now makes complete sense why that one comment really popped out for me and got my attention, because I guess my sensor for victim mentality bullshit is just turned to the max because I need to be extremely aware of these types of people in my environment. And the best part is that now I know for sure that I made the right choice because I didn't reply anything to his comment. Because if I would have, then Mr. V definitely would have won and it would have been game over for me, because then he would have gotten exactly what he wanted, my attention. So to wrap this up, I guess my message is that be aware of these types of people in your life, whether it's online or face to face, and just protect yourself. And also, if you're thinking, what the hell did I just listen to? Then just to be clear, you're not alone. I constantly find myself thinking, what the hell did I just think about? But it's part of me and it's sometimes very entertaining. And I guess that's the reason why I'm never bored when I'm alone. So thanks for listening, and I hope some of my words brought some value to your mind. See you in the next episode.